It's funny how Top Rank will never work with us. It's just they just will never work with us, and it's not because we cannot come to an agreement. You know, it's not that. It goes way beyond that, and I'm not gonna go into details, but they know why they won't work with us.
Amen.
And when I took over my own career,
Let them know, Floyd.
my first fight, I made 8 figures. I was already making, when I was with Top Rank, I was making 7 million, 8 million, 8.5 million. But as soon as I became my own promoter and my own boss, I made 8 figures instantly. From 8 figures, we eventually moved up to making just, I think, somewhere upwards of 32 million a fight. Then I said to myself, you know what? It's not enough. So we went from 30-something million to 50 million. Then I said, it's not enough.
Yes!
We went from 50 million to 100 million. And I said, it's not enough.
Talk to him.
We went from 100 million to 300 million. I said, it's not enough. We went from 300 million to 350 million. It's not my business.
Well, you mentioned the Heat game. The report was that you went to Manny's hotel after the game. So what was that conversation like?
I don't know why they had him stay in that type of hotel, you know. I'm just being honest, you know. I'm just saying, like, when you say he's the, you know what I'm saying, like I said before, the treatment. The treatment, I feel like it wasn't right. Why did they have him staying in that type of hotel?
Floyd, what was wrong with the hotel?
Yeah, what actually was wrong?
It just wasn't right. You know, I'm not here to put the hotel on blast. It just wasn't right.
Saying he could have afforded better.
I'm not really saying that, but I just don't like. Financially, I don't think Top Rank treated him right for this one. I'm very, very appreciative for my team. Because if they say Floyd is getting a certain number, I get 100%. You know what I'm saying? As far as I got put in a position where not this fight, but all the other fights where I kept 100% of the revenue. It's remarkable. And when Min Al Hammond, I want to bother you up. Min Al Hammond said, and we talked, and he said, Floyd, because the guy is brilliant. I'm not saying nobody else from my team ain't brilliant. But the guy is brilliant. And I say, tell him he's a genius. A genius. He was like, we talked, and he said, Floyd, when you said that you wanted that, he said, Floyd, when you wanted the big boy mansion built, did we get it built? I was like, yes. He said, Floyd, when you wanted to be the highest paid fighter in boxing, did we make it happen? I said, yes. He said, Floyd, when you wanted to be the highest paid athlete in sports, did we make it happen? I said, yes.
18 years of my career, you know, I think the best move that I ever made was leaving Top Rank. Best move I ever made in my whole career was leaving Top Rank. You know, every time I left Top Rank, you know, I was making, 7 figures with them, but once I left them, I made 8 figures. So, you know, that was the best move I ever made in my whole career, was becoming my own boss and being able to dictate and do what I want to do with my career.
What are the differences between Al Haymon and Bob Arum, being that you worked with both and so closely with both?
I cannot say, I don't want to offend anybody. They're both promoter. Al is a nice guy. He's a nice person. I can say Bob is he helped me a lot. I started with Bob Arum. He helped a lot in my career. So I cannot say I am kind of person that I don't want to say bad things about it because of my success. I always thankful to the people who contribute. Contribute to my career. Like what I'm talking about. Even you, media, you help me a lot because without you, how can be, you know, Manny Pacquiao? I can be Manny Pacquiao, right?
Al Heyman is a very, very shrewd businessman, the best in the business, hands down. I don't care who you go get. You can talk about Don King, you can talk about Bob Arum. To me, those guys are thieves. But Al Heyman is a straight up guy, a guy in black and white. I mean, like I said, it's black and white. When you in ink, you sign it, it is what it is with Al Heyman. Soon as I signed on the dotted line with Al Heyman, everything that this man said he would do, he did.
If he's ready to move up to 35, you know, we could definitely do that. I know Bob won't say anything, you know, positive about that. I don't even know if he's interested in actually facing me. The way I know Top Rank works, they'll have somebody else in line for him to win a title, you know, at 35 or maybe even at 40. Most likely he's not gonna want to face me because Bob won't allow it.
Richard said that he doesn't think Bob will ever let him take him near you.
I don't think he would. I think Bob Arum has been doing business so well for so long, the way he runs his business, that it's not in his best interest to face me with his fighters, whether it's financial reasons or taking a loss or whatever. I think he's not gonna be very excited to do business with me. But I know Lomachenko would take the fight, and I would also take that fight. So maybe down the road we could actually have that fight.
For the star maker, though, you've had to stop guys before, like Oscar and stuff. Is this a little harder, or is it just you feel he's ready?
Again, no, Oscar, one thing about Oscar and his father, who was guiding him, was they understood boxing, and they listened very carefully to our matchmakers, and they didn't get ahead of their skis, so to speak. I remember when we took Oscar, when they asked for a meeting at HBO, which was then the big thing for boxing, and Seth Abraham was head of HBO Sports, said, we want Oscar on the network, and we want him to fight Chiquita Hernandez, Chiquita Hernandez, who was the junior lightweight champion or lightweight champion, something like that. And my matchmaker said, absolutely not. Oscar doesn't have the experience and the ability to fight Hernandez yet. We've got to wait at least a year. So I told that to Oscar and his father, and they said, well, if your matchmakers insist, we'll back down. And I went to Seth Abraham and I said, forget about De La Hoya, we're not fighting Hernandez now. So he ended up fighting Brito for the Oscar's first title. I think it was junior lightweight title or something like that, or maybe lightweight. I don't remember what it was.
It was junior lightweight.
Yeah, and Oscar won that fight, and a year later fought Hernandez and stopped Hernandez. So Oscar and his father, to their credit, listened, and that guidance that they had from Bruce Trampler, the matchmaker, was well worth it, because I think if he had gone into that fight with Hernandez right away, he would have been destroyed.
The same company, shouldn't it be a little bit more easier to make the Crawford Spence fight? Shouldn't it get done like sometime this year?
Well, from our standpoint, it is easy, and because it would definitely be a pay-per-view fight, I would assume that both ESPN and Fox would be co-distributors. So it shouldn't be hard to make, and I would love to make that fight, but it takes two to tango. It really does.
I'm just speaking from the fan perspective. Obviously, I want this fight. Do you think that Al Heyman's silence and probably you being visceral publicly, you think that's kind of like oil and water?
No, I just think, I mean, if it was only me, Top Rank, having that experience, then I would say that maybe it's some rivalry. But it's every other promoter has the same problem.
Do you think it has to do with litigation, y'all, with the litigation and all that?
Well, the litigation is over.
It's over, but you still carry those emotions. You still carry.
Well, that may be, but I said, if it was personal to us, then you could say, well, maybe that's a hangover from the litigation. But it's not. It's the same thing with other promoters where he takes those positions. So it's just the way he does business.
Y'all keep asking the same question over and over and over again. It's not my fault. Mayweather Promotions, I run my company. He has a boss. Pacquiao has a boss. I don't answer to nobody. He has to answer to somebody. Someone gives him a date to fight. No one gives me a date. I make up my own date. And Cinco de Mayo is my date. The truth is, Bob Arum is not going to let the fight happen. It's not on me. You know, I went to Pacquiao and I offered him $40 million. I called him and talked to him direct. And I offered him $40 million. I told him I would wire him $20 million within 48 hours. He turned me down. He basically said 50-50. And I'm more like, how can you ask for 50-50 and you're not doing the same numbers that I'm doing? At first, if you go back and read the article, he said he'd do it for less. Then it was like, I don't want to take the random blood and the random urine. So it's just been a problem, you know, trying to make this fight. And the fans and the public is being fooled. Bob Arum is not going to let this fight happen. So once he's free from Bob Arum, will the fight happen? Absolutely. But as of right now, he's with Bob Arum, so the fight is not going to happen. Bob Arum is worried about making money. He don't really care too much about the fighter.
Manny signed with Heyman. It came to a surprise to many that he's not with you because you built up Manny. You guys had a long and fruitful partnership. What are your personal thoughts on Manny not being part of Top Rank anymore and going and signing with Al?
Manny is really close to my heart. I love him and I wish him well. But at this point in time in his career, with the problems of fighting in the United States and other problems, we couldn't do anything for him that made sense. Whether Heyman can or can't remains to be seen. Heyman promised him a fight with Mayweather, good or bad. If that happens, he'll make some money. I wish him only the best, really. We came to an end, but it was not an end that was antagonistic. It was very amicable. We wished each other well, and I only wish for the best for him.
When you're saying you couldn't offer him anything, you couldn't offer him fights, or you offered him fights, but he looked at it like, well, those don't really interest me.
No, we couldn't offer him fights unless they were in the United States, and we couldn't solve the problem of the fights being in the United States with the IRS, with what he owed. I don't want to go into it because a lot of it is confidential. So then the question is, where could we do a significant Manny Pacquiao fight where we could make money at the gate and put it on prime time in the United States, losing all that buildup, right? And the issue is we couldn't. And then the problem is, even when we solved the problem, the tax problem in the United States, and he came over here, he would come over for 1 or 2 weeks without, and then if he came over, you couldn't get him on television because everybody remembers the anti-gay thing, and they don't want him around. So it was very, very difficult. Now maybe somebody can take that and turn it into money for him, and I only hope that's the case, but we couldn't.
In favor of the winner, boxing's pride of the Philippines, the ageless wonder, the one and only current WBA welterweight champion of the world, Manny Pacquiao.
Mind if I ask you a tougher question if I can?
Yeah.
I know you don't mind answering this question, Bob. Why it seems like a fighter gets to a certain point and then it's like y'all sever ties. Like Manny Pacquiao leaves, Mikey Garcia leaves, Floyd leaves, Cotto leaves.
In the case of Floyd, in the case of Manny Pacquiao, in the case of Oscar, all of them fulfilled their contract to us. And then if they come to us and ask for a sum of money that we feel is too much as a business person to pay, they are legally free to go elsewhere, and they do. That's business. That if they were breaking their contract with us, then that would be another thing.
Okay, Bob,
but they left because they believed, rightly or wrongly, there were greener pastures out there.
You want to stay as far away from Bob Arum as possible.
Why is that? What do you think? What's behind those comments?
Because if you talk to anybody who's ever worked with Bob, outside promoters or managers that are unfit, he wants you to sign over rights to him, to have to get so many fights after. I mean, I've talked to so many people that said, "Man, I'll never deal with that guy again. He's a complete nightmare. He's just a scumbag."
Yeah. And are you surprised with the situation between him and Mikey that it went so long?
I'm not surprised because that was happening way back then. Mikey and I were supposed to be working way back when, but he kept interfering. And when you don't have a real management team and you have a promoter that has his own agenda at hand and not the fighter's best interest, those are the things that are going to happen. You got to remember, he was Fighter of the Year back then, and because of his own selfishness, and he's a pig. He sat Mikey on the sidelines tried to ruin his career, threaten him, intimidate him, do all those things, and because Mikey is who he is. Look at everybody who's left him. From De La Hoya to Mayweather to Cotto, now Mikey to Chavez Jr. I mean, he's a scumbag. And once he's out of this sport, hopefully they'll start putting those big fights together that the fans want to see.
It seems like that's what he wants. That's why he was trying to boycott Pacquiao versus Bronner. Maybe even Pacquiao.
He's got no choice. Who does he have? He's on his way out, just like HBO's on his way out. HBO attached themselves to the wrong train. And they have their own agenda too. So it's once you start getting these guys out of the mix of things, then I think the fans there'll be more fan attention being brought to the sport.
What do you think of Bob Arum saying that Crawford needs to promote himself like Pacquiao, Mayweather, and Teofimo?
Their contract is almost up, so
okay.
He's got to say stuff because he might already know that Crawford's not staying.
You think so? I don't know. Yeah, it could be. It's possible.
He wouldn't be saying that. He'd be saying Crawford does my best numbers, and look,
that's my new Sugar Ray Leonard.
He did really good numbers.
Yes,
he did really good numbers. So Barber should have said that. He's a big star, one of my biggest stars, this and that. But he must know that he's leaving already. He must already know that he's leaving.
He said, "Yeah, the money I lost on him." He told this to the Athletic. I could have bought a house in Beverly Hills. Yeah. Houses in Beverly Hills are expensive.
So that's why he said that. That's not a promoter trying to keep a fighter.